Okay, perfect. We've got everything. So, welcome everybody. My name is Tracy. I am the founder and author of Her Stories Untold, a global book project that is sharing different empowering and uplifting stories of women around the globe from all walks of life. The reason this project was started was because I realized that there was so many women out there and transgender women out there that have stories to share, journeys that have been taken but not realizing their significance and importance, of course, potential. This project is open to all women and transgender women in the globe. If you have a story of your journey of how you came to be whom you are and where you are today, please do check out www.herstoryuntold.com. The purpose of this global book project is to empower, uplift, and inspire other women around the globe. Before we begin our talk today, I want to acknowledge that the land on which I live and work in is a traditional unceded territory of the Coquitlam Nation and lies within the shared traditional territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Katia, Musqueam, Squamish, Kit, and Stolo First Nations. Very importantly, I want to warmly welcome everyone that is joining us here today. And of course, to our very special guest, Tracy here, Jovolos, right?
Jovolos, yeah.
Jovolos, yeah. So welcome, Tracy, and thank you for being here today. Please tell us about yourself. Yeah.
Okay, well, hi, Traei, and everybody watching. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so my background is in, my education is in software engineering and business. And so that's what my career was in. But years ago, I discovered that the older set, when I was taking care of my aunt and uncle, I noticed that they weren't having the best experience of aging because of, people weren't treating them as well. Contractors would, take advantage of them. Even some medical professionals weren't treating them so well. So a friend and I got together and we thought, oh, let's do a documentary on aging and show everybody how people can age better and how they can treat the older set better, et cetera, et cetera. Like, we talk about finances, we talk about elder abuse or scams and all of that kind of stuff. And at the time, my focus was on, over 70-year-old people. And so we interviewed the director of aging at UBC, and interviewed a whole bunch of older people and to try and, do this documentary. And, one of the things I should mention is older people, all they really, really want is to be needed and valued. Like I remember, I was volunteering at a care home and the woman I was visiting was 94 and a quarter. Matters when you're that age, apparently. And she was just this lovely woman and her kids were taking great care of her and they loved her and wanted to keep her safe and all of that. But I used to go and visit her once a week and we just had fun together, right? And we laughed and had fun. But the thing is that I would ask her questions. She felt needed by me, is my point. She really felt needed. So, but anyway, so back to the documentary. We went to Whistler Film Festival, to the Doc Fest. And we, did the program and tried to figure out things. And we realized that we didn't have the skills or the people that were interested to help us or the money to create a documentary. So we kind of shelved that project. And then years, I don't know, maybe a year or two went by. And I was thinking, maybe people, well, because one of the reasons that we shelved it is a lot of the older people didn't want to, they didn't want to see what happens when they get older. Like they just didn't want to see what was going to happen. So then I thought, okay, well, maybe if I did a comedy, like a sitcom about a woman doing a documentary on aging and make it funny and bring, levity to the situation and people can embrace something better like that and learn better. So that's where my the show started, the actual sitcom. And
sorry, that's amazing. I just want to share that's amazing where you're coming from. And I'm very curious to, kind of, if we can backtrack a little bit just to find out, like, because you said you were in software engineering, but how did that evolve all of a sudden to hey, I've seen these things and I want to talk about it and I want to show people what is happening and how can we improve on it kind of thing. Yeah. So
Yeah, well, it really stemmed from taking care of my aunt and uncle, and I just seeing how they were treated, and and my friend and I discussing it because she had older parents and stuff,
yeah.
and it just came from that. It came from, here's the thing: if I'm going to get older, I don't want it to be like that, right?
Mm,
If I'm, I should say, if I'm lucky enough to get older, right? Like we all
yeah.
have to think that way, right? If we're lucky enough to get older, then I don't want to be treated like that. I want to have a better experience of aging. And that's where it all came from. Is like I want to help people who are getting older now, and I want to help make it a better place for me when I get there as well.
Yeah.
So, here's the thing about ageism is it's almost the last socially acceptable prejudice. People like it's okay to be ageist, it seems. And another thing is we older people, like, and I'll include myself, we perpetuate that by saying things like, oh, I'm too old for that activity. Like so we perpetuate the whole aging thing. We're almost just as bad as everybody else. But so instead of saying, oh, I'm too old for that, I could change the language and say, yeah, that's not my priority right now or not my interest right now. And that changes the whole, right? The conversation.
100%.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so here's the thing:
Yeah.
everybody, all ages, all ages, all races, all genders are either old right now or they're future old. Like everybody's going to get old if they're lucky. And so at some point, everybody's going to be oppressed by ageism. So why not collectively, create this advocacy where we change that so all future generations and the people living it now can experience a better life. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing, and it's very important and significant because you're right. We come to this world, we're all growing older by the second as we speak right now, as it unfolds,
Yes.
right? So we're all eventually going to get there. And you're right. I think a lot of times the media representation, it doesn't show too much. So oftentimes we don't know what it's like to be aging, or it's just some concept that we briefly saw somewhere, and we don't know how to go into different chapters of our life, right? And I do have some interesting experience to share myself about how you mentioned that you were taking care of your uncles and aunts, right? And so I used to volunteer at this organization with my old dog. She passed away, of course, and we used to visit senior homes, and we go to senior homes with I used to visit seniors with dementia. So they're all different levels. So depending on which level of the care home, the higher floors are secured because they
Yeah.
can't get out, because it's a
Yeah.
danger. And any of us, okay, we can arrive at that stage. You cannot tell the future. Um, and that's why, for example, Bill Gates' father, he had Alzheimer's, right? And Bill Gates actually funds this, for Alzheimer research, right? So I'm just saying, like, it's all walks of life. It doesn't just happen to this type of people or that type of, it happens everywhere. And it was such a humbling journey for me when I visit them, because I got set up on weekly visits and I would dedicate to those few seniors that were there. And I heard so many empowering and inspiring stories. There was a older lady. She told me she was on the air ventilator tank, and she had an amazing life. She told me all about her life, her marriage, and how her kids, they're kind of spread all over the world. So that's why no one's visiting at the moment. And I used to visit her. I remember one time visited her, her boyfriend came and she was like, yeah, I'll see you next week, right? And it was hilarious. I was like, I like backed down the doors. My dad I was like, got it. Yeah, no problem. Good
It's
job.
hilarious.
It was
Tell her
hilarious.
next time, put a sock on the door.
Yeah. So
Handle
that
it.
was great. And I was like so happy for her. And then she showed me photos and stuff. I was just like, oh, this is so great. And then I saw an older gentleman and he was so happy. He showed me a collection of black and white photos in his room. And he showed me how him and his wife met, how he used his hands to build homes together, and these were the children, and how he used to fly. That was like just amazing. Then there was another lady. She didn't really speak English, and she didn't speak much, so I was always like unsure of myself when I went over, like, "Hi, I'm here to visit you. How are you today?" And then just I'm struggling for a conversation because she's not really polite, and that's totally fine because of her state. Um, she turned 101. one weekend, and then I saw her, and all she said to me was one thing. She said, you you have heart, you have mind. And that's all she said.
Ever. Wow.
Yeah. And then the very, very sad thing was that the following week, I came back to visit, her room was cleared out. Yeah. So she was gone. So that was very sad. So that was like, yeah, yeah. Even though we didn't really converse, there was just, yeah, I'm still gonna be sad. There was also another older lady. She was very cute, very sweet, because they have these programs in the senior homes. So I come in and it would just be repeated conversations. I mean, I only see her on a weekly basis, and she would repeat all the activities that she went through. So I just talked to her, and she was like, she forget who I am every single week when I went to her. So we just repeat the same things over and over. But that's about it. And the thing about volunteering with your dog is that you kind of have to go through this interview screening, because you want to make sure, because seniors have medications, a bunch of pills that they take, right? Your dog has to be trained so that they don't just pick up any pill, or the seniors offer them treats sometimes. They're not
Right.
sure, it could be chocolates or something allergic, right? So the dog has to learn how to not to accept those treats, right? Kind of thing when you're constantly watching. But yeah, so 100%. I see where you're coming from, and I'm amazed, and I think it's such an important focus and passion in regards to what you're trying to show, right? So yeah, please continue.
Yeah, well, and the compassion is big.
Yeah,
People, so here's the paradox. Everybody wants to live a long time, but nobody wants to get old.
yeah,
Right. And I think that that's because our vision of old is flawed. It's an old vision of old, right? Because really the baby boomers have actually changed what it looks like to get older, right? They're more active, they're healthier, they're involved in community,
living longer.
they're going back to school, they're doing all sorts of things, they're living their life way differently. But the problem is we don't see that on TV,
Hmm.
right? We don't see, like, so if you don't see this happening, then you don't know what's happening. And then so a lot of people like dread, oh my God, I'm getting older, I'm going to be old. And they dread, half of their life, they're dreading their future when they don't really need to. And so that's what I'm trying to expose the world to is we have 40 years left, and what are you going to do with it? And it can be great. You don't have to sit around waiting to die. You can be involved in the community, bring
Yeah,
yourself back from the shadow, from the outskirts into the and shine, like do things. But that's one thing that I want to say about that is there's a lot of personal responsibility there, because we can't just wait around for people to go, oh, you're special. You have to get out there, right? So, as we age, we have to participate in life. That's our responsibility. So there's that part as well. We can't just lament that we're getting older and no one's paying attention. Get out in the world, right?
yeah,
But we
yeah,
have to show that. We have to show that somehow, and that's
yeah.
where I'm moved to, is showing it on TV.
And
Yeah.
this is very interesting. I'm going to share this article that I found. It's from theconversation.com. The article is called Invisible Lives: Where Are All the Older Women in Film and TV? And it was an article that was posted in September 2021. So it's actually quite recent. And in this article, someone, the writer, was sharing that as a female actor in her mid-50s, she said she never felt more invisible. Neither has she felt angrier. She said there are few parts out there for women her age, as much as there are some decent roles for the big guns, right? And she talks about, Jane Fonda and Grace and Frankie, Catherine O'Hara and Schitt's Creek. She said there simply aren't enough to go around. It's thoroughly depressing. It feels like it's getting worse. She expands and talks about research from 2019, where they found that older women are often relegated to supporting roles in films, or are consistently portrayed as grumpy, frumpy, or senile. And that study analyzed representations of older adults in the top grossing films of 2019 in Germany, France, and UK, and the US, with a specific focus on women aged 50 and over. The study found that there weren't any women over 50 cast in leading roles in 2019's top films, while 2 men over 50 were featured as leads. And when older women did appear, they were cast stereotypically. Another study from 2018 found that only 35% of the top grossing films from that year featured 10 or more female speaking characters, and compared this to the 82% that had 10 or more male characters in speaking roles. Similarly, in analysis, over 10,000 films made in the UK between 1911 to 2017 found that the gender mix in UK film casts has not improved since the end of the Second World War. Female actors have also tended to make fewer films and have had shorter careers than male actors. And so it seems that, the analysis also found that unnamed characters who work in high-skilled occupations such as doctors are also more likely to be portrayed by men. So this is from Caroline Noakes, the MP and the chair of the Women and Inequalities Committee. And she's highlighted these issues on Twitter and multiple different platforms, as well as different women aged over 50 by UK broadcasters kind of thing. So I just thought that was very interesting. And it's not to say which one is better, which gender is better or not, but it's just kind of, based on the study, but part of the reality of what it's been seen and observed, right? So, yeah.
I think there's two parts to that. It's
Yeah.
One, it's older women, but also it's older people, right? So
Yeah.
that's a good segue into what my shows are. So I have 2 shows that I've created. And so those women who are in their 50s that those actors, well, I'm going to have a lot of roles for them because that's what I'm doing. I'm creating, I'm creating content that involves, older actors and older actors. So my first show is called 50 something.
Yeah.
And it's about unpacking the comedy around being a woman in her 50s. And it's specifically not including men. Like the men will obviously be in it, but the focus is women and what we go through in our 50s, because men experience it differently. So we go through menopause and our bodies change and our minds change, and the kids are getting older, so we're empty nesters. Like our whole lives are being turned upside down. And so it's going to be all about that, and it's super funny. But it also will show all the social issues of the day and the issues of growing older. So it's gonna be sneak teaching, but also
opportunity learning. Yeah, opportunity.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I like that. Opportunity learning. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's going to be that, but it's going to be super funny. And I don't know how much you want me to go into it, but then the second show.
However much you want to share.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, so the second show, what I learned when I was doing my research and I took a lot of courses, etc., was if you're going to pitch something, you should pitch more than one thing, because you're already in the room, right? So to any of those creators out there, you're already in the room, have more than one idea. So so out of this 50 something show, there's a show and a spin-off called Above Ground. And it's a spin-off because just taking you back to the woman that I visited in the care home. Well, she's a character in 50 something and she's 90-ish, right? So the spinoff is then about a care home, and it's called Above Ground because every day above ground's a good day. So it's called that. And so now she's going to be the main character in that show. But and it's basically because, she didn't have the best experience of a care home. So this show is about these inmates in the care home who are constantly up against management, trying to create a place where people come to live out the rest of their lives, not just wait to die. Yeah. So those 2 shows are going to have a lot of multi-generational, like the 50 something will have the older set, but it'll also have some younger people. And then the same with Above Ground. So there's going to be a lot of roles for older people. Yeah. And we're going to demonstrate how we can live better lives, demonstrate what the baby boomers are already doing, and show people that they don't have to dread getting older. It's fun. And when you're 50 something, you basically become invisible. But invisibility is almost like a superpower, because then you can just do whatever you want, right? Like, what's that guy's, Ricky Gervais. He's so
Oh,
funny
I love him.
because, yeah, so like, I heard him on a talk show even earlier today. I was watching a clip,
Yeah,
and he's like, when you get older, you can just say whatever you want. Nobody cares, right? Like,
it's true.
not that nobody cares, but it gives you permission to be yourself, because
Yeah,
you're not caring anymore about, oh, how do I look? What do people think? You get to shed the shackles of youth
yeah,
and be who we're meant to be.
yeah.
So that's what both these shows are about, and they're inspiring, and they'll show a fresh perspective on aging, and all done through comedy, and it'll be amazing. It's literally, they're going to change the world.
I think that sounds really funny, and I'm looking forward to watching it. And it's also very educational with comedy in it. And what I'm already seeing is that it's the audience itself is not just for older audiences, okay? It's for all age groups, because we're gonna get there. And
Well,
I would
exactly.
love to see what it's like, in terms of a senior home setting, and just, you know, every one of the seniors, they used to be young. They were a baby.
Exactly. And like you said, they have fun stories, right? Like
Yeah.
they have lived their life. They're interesting people,
Yeah,
right?
they grew
Yes.
up, they were teenagers, they fell in love, right? They
Yeah,
had their first
exactly.
kiss, first sexual experience, right?
Yep.
Yeah, had
Yep.
their first love, got married, had kids. And this goes for both men and women, right? And then all these things unfold. They had careers, they were looking for jobs, right? So,
Yeah.
and I totally see that, the way you said that, when you get older, you don't care. Like, I don't really care. And it's true, right? And then whereas, and this is not to target or, but it's just, distinguishing the differences and the phases of life. Like when you're younger, you're like fixated, oh, how do I look? This has to be perfect, right? And then you kind of get stuck because you're over analyzing the situation and you can't take a step forward. But then with life experience and with time, you're like, that's totally okay. It's not life and death. So you kind of just plod along, right? I do want to share that, what you're sharing here is very important, because there's a thing that I read about, there's a filmmaker. Of course, she's a older lady, and her name is Victoria Maplebeck. She's a professor in digital arts at Royal Holloway University of London. And she's recently written about how she was unable to continue working as a film director after she had a child. And she writes that I had to give up my career as a director overnight, realizing that the insecurity of a freelancer didn't mesh with being a single parent. Flexible working wasn't on the table 17 years ago. Back then, you were expected to work long hours and weekends, and that's how the work environment was back then, of course. And I knew this would be impossible while raising my son alone. And because of that whole situation, right? You got the whole social dynamics, right? You got the economic situation, and of course the status, right? Being a single mom, right? She was not able to get funding, so she decided to take matters into her own hands, and she used, guess what she used? She used an iPhone to make a new documentary.
Right.
And what was the outcome? She won a BAFTA for her smartphone called Miss Call. Just very quickly, in one little blurb of a summary, that Miss Call was shot on an iPhone X, okay, not even iPhone 4. Miss Call explores my relationship with my teenage son as we discuss how we'll reconnect with his father, who's been absent for a decade. How do you reconnect with a father who's been gone for so long? What do you say? What do you text? Miss Calls begins with the last message he sent in 2006 and ends with the first call to him over a decade later. The film explores the many ways in which our lives are lived and archived via the phones we hold so close. Miss Call was the first commissioned short film to be shot on the iPhone X and won a BAFTA Best Short Film Award in 2019. So I'm sharing this because I think it's very empowering and inspiring. And I think at any age, whatever the circumstances, whatever the status is, anybody can go out and make a film to showcase that. And by watching that and, winning that award, I mean, that's not the end goal, but it just shows that there's so much that can be done. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking back to the documentary that we didn't do. It would have been nice if there was the iPhone then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. That's good for her. That's awesome.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about in regards to what stage your film is? Is it?
Okay, so good question. They're both at different stages of development.
Yeah.
I, yeah, so I have had a conversation with a broadcaster and a production company. Not, let me tell you, not easy to break
Okay.
that barrier. The entertainment industry is like, I think of it as like this closed, it's like a city that has a wall around it, you know? And you almost need to have a Trojan horse to get in there, like somebody like Chuck Lorre to take you in and introduce you to the world, and but not just introduce you, because I've been introduced to people, but they would need to follow up with that person. Did you talk to my friend? You know what I mean? Like, just to, yeah, it's just a really difficult industry to break into. So I am chipping it down brick by brick and
Yeah.
getting in. But yeah, so I have a little bit of interest. I have to develop them further.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm actually looking for a writer to,
Okay.
yeah, so I'm putting
There
it
you
out
go.
there. I'm putting it out there, world, looking for a writer
Yeah.
to help with the development of the pilot episode. I mean, I have pilot episode, but it's not, I think it needs to be better because as you know, I didn't come from a writing background, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, no, so I'm chugging along and I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited. It's, yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to comment that I think it doesn't matter what background you come from. I think every single background that we come from, whatever that is, it's a multitude of facets and layers, and you can combine that life experience, what you've seen, the people you know, things that have happened, and put that towards the essence of the projects that you're creating. Like Helen Mirren, she never went to acting school. What an amazing actress! Like hands down, right? So that's just really amazing.
Yes.
And then I think this is and when you open up the project to writers and stuff like that, I also want to comment, just because the film content is about seniors and their life and the comedy of it, that doesn't mean only people from that age group can apply and do those projects, right? Whether it's in front and behind the camera, like anybody can help collaborate and support, because I feel like when you co-create, you're learning together and shaping and creating history together, right?
Yeah, for
and
sure.
and it's amazing because I don't know if you saw there's a documentary that won a lot of awards. It's called 95 and 6 to Go. It was made in 2016, and it's on Canopy, the platform. And so essentially this is award-winning documentary where the filmmaker, the granddaughter, Kimi Takesue, finds an unlikely collaborator while visiting her resilient Japanese American grandfather in Hawaii. And he was a recent widower in his 90s. So Grandpa Tom immersed himself in his daily essentially routines until he shows unexpected interest in his granddaughter's stalled romantic screenplay and offers advice both shrewd and surprising. So Tom's creative script revisions serve as a vehicle for his memories of love, loss, perseverance to surface. And it's a funny and intimate mediation on family and absences that expands the vernacular of the home movie to consider how history is accumulated in the everyday and how sparks of humor and creativity can animate an ordinary life. And I think that is the beauty of life, animating the ordinary,
Fantastic.
because that's all of our lives, you know?
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So that,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, so for me, with regards to my projects, is I can't give up because it's my passion,
yeah,
and as far as I'm concerned, it's going to get done no matter what, because it's that important
I
to
love it.
me, but also to everybody else,
Yeah,
right? Like, this is important to everybody, all generations, all, it's universal.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a universal thing, and I think it's really important. And I think that my shows. Did you ever watch the show Friends?
Oh, yeah, of
Yeah.
course, yeah.
So the younger set. So that was when I was, younger. That show came out,
Yeah,
but my kids watch it, and it's almost like it's a playbook for them for their 30s. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
so my shows will be like a playbook for how to live your 50s or how to live, to later in life. And I think that whether the younger set watches it now or later,
Yeah.
they'll definitely watch it because it's going to be that entertaining. And yeah, anyway, I just think, yeah, I'm
No,
very passionate about it and I'm very excited about it. And I'm really excited to see it come to fruition, both of them. Yeah.
I was just looking down because somebody that came to mind. She's like very famous. She's a senior. I can't believe what age group she is, but she's got these beautiful silver hair, and she was a teacher, but she was such a fashionista. She's like super trendy, and she starts posting the stuff on Instagram. So now she's a global icon, right? She's telling the world and all the women around the globe, all ages, okay, 70,
Yes.
80, 90, that you can still be fabulous and amazing and super trendy, right? So she
Yep.
looks pretty damn good to me. So yeah, and I thought that was really inspiring. So I just think yeah, like women have a very special place, no matter what age group that you're coming from. And when you're younger, you're not certain about yourself, right? You're like kind of growing into the mold of yourself to your
Yeah.
potentials, right? And sometimes maybe not the full potentials are fully realized because of circumstances, environment. And this is where I like to come in and kind of segue about her stories untold. I think it's so important that women, any age group, any background, okay, any ethnicity, whatever, anywhere in the globe, we can all come out to empower and inspire and uplift one another rather than, yeah, because I think we had chatted a little bit on that, right? So, and I think it's so important to like how do we accentuate the positive, right? See the differences, and this goes for everything in life, I think. And how do we harmonize the situation and better support each other? Yeah.
Absolutely. And, kudos to you for doing this
Oh,
project because
thank you
it's going
so
to
much.
inspire
Yeah,
so many people. And
appreciate it.
puts positive energy out into the world. And it also helps people share their stories, right? That
Yeah,
they wouldn't normally share,
yeah.
which it's therapeutic, really, at the end of
No,
the day. Yeah.
I'm very grateful for this project because it's really stemmed from just some of the things that happened in my life and things that I've seen. And I hope women can be there for one another rather than feeling that it's a competitive situation. And a lot of times women encounter trauma and hurt, and I'm not just saying you have to be that way to be a part of her stories untold, but I'm just giving examples and stuff. But rather than focusing on that, we need to come out. And I think when people start talking and sharing the journey, it's not just about empowering and inspiring other people, because that for sure is going to happen, right? Even if it's like a little tiny step. But I think most importantly and fundamentally is that the woman that is sharing the journey themselves, they're empowering, inspiring themselves. Because now it's like, oh, I've talked about this. Wow. And then you're gonna push yourself. That energy is gonna positive energy and continue forth, right? And then because of that, you're now empowered, inspired to also reach out and help support other people. Yeah. So thank you for being a part of this, because yeah, you're changing and creating history as we speak.
Well, thank you. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
And none of this her stories untold journey can be possible without all the beautiful women from all age groups and backgrounds that have come forth to share. And I think it's so brave, so courageous, and so respectful and empowering that they come out to do these things, no matter what the stories are. Yeah.
Well, exactly. And you're providing the space and time for them to do it. So
Yeah. So
you, right?
everybody come
Everybody wins,
together.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because growing up, like how do you become a filmmaker? How do you become a lawyer? How do you become a writer? How do you become a doctor, right? Unless you were growing up, with that type of environment.
That's
Sometimes it's
right.
just somebody over there, like far away, that you see on screen, or a book that you read, right? An article that you read, and that's it, right? And
Yep.
then life is
Yep.
zipping by, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
So anything is possible. I guess just I also wanted to ask you, do you have any empowering or inspiring messages to women around the globe?
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, my favorite quote of all times is
Okay.
Oscar Wilde.
Okay.
And he says, be yourself, everyone else is taken.
Love it.
It's okay. So, and then, so I heard that quote, and then a few years later, I was reading Oprah Winfrey's book where it's called The Path Made Clear. And that's just, it was just like little bits of what other people had said. She compiled it into a book. But there is this guy, it was a guru, some self-help guru, and I can't remember his name, but he basically said those exact words. And he says, if you just live who you are, if you just be yourself, then you can save years of therapy.
Just be at ease, right?
Well, just being yourself, like
Grow into yourself.
we're always afraid to be ourselves because we think, we want everyone to like us, and we don't want to offend anybody or whatever. But the bottom line is, not everybody's going to like us. So just be yourself anyway. And the people who are meant to be around you or who like you will be, and the ones who aren't will move on. Because guess what? Not everybody likes you either. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
anyway, I just love that quote. Be yourself, everyone else is taken.
And it's 100% true because, over all the billions of people around this globe, nobody's exact same. We're not even same by DNA, by default, right? Like nothing is the same. So it's okay to be self. I feel that, there's this weight existing in society today to try to be someone else, right? Because that's consistently and repeatedly shown to us. So it's like we're living to be someone else, but thinking that is ourself. But I think it's so important to explore who we are fundamentally and, center ourselves from that perspective and that point, right? So I love it. And thank you very much for sharing that quote. You mentioned Oprah, she had a book. I remember I read a book too that she co-authored was Dr. Bruce D. Perry. It's called What Happened to You. And this book is about they narrate the book about experiences earlier experiences that have shaped our lives down the road. And it talks about powerful scientific and emotional insights into the behavioral patterns so many of us struggle to understand, right? So and I think it also stems from just being yourself, right? The quote here from Oprah is that through this lens, we can build a renewed sense of personal self-worth and ultimately recalibrate our responses to circumstances, situations, and relationships. It is, in other words, the key to reshaping our very lives. And that's so important. It hits home with learning about yourself so you can be yourself. Yeah. And that book changed the perspective of how one sees it out, because it talks about something about like, if you've never been shown love, how can you love, right? And that's what her stories Untold is, in different layers and aspects, showing how to be, or this is possible, right? So that dreams can continue to grow and hopes will continue to be fostered into action. Yeah. So yeah, thank you. So very important question. How do we contact you if somebody wants to reach out to you?
Yeah, so right now I do not have social media because I just don't, but I need to. And I actually thought maybe I'll do a podcast. I'll do a mini series, like just 10 episodes on aging and just the key factors of it, like what everybody needs to know. So I might start that. So if anyone wants to be on my podcast, I'm going to talk about all sorts of things like self-responsibility first, but also aging and technology, because technology has changed absolutely how older people can communicate with their family and friends. So it's changing everything. So that's important. And about, health and sexuality and some financial stuff. So anyway, I'm going to be talking about all that. So my email address is what all I have right now. It's Tracy, Tracy, at Jovolos, JOVOLOS.com. So it's my name.
Okay, no, that's great. And what I'm going to do here at the end of our talk is I'm actually going to share that out. And then those that are interested or just want to connect with you and chat with you, they can feel free to contact you by that email.
Yes, that would be great. And I love to talk to people. So feel free to call or email.
I think it's great because I love to hear podcasts about aging, because I remember back in school, because my background is anthropology and sociology, so I studied a little bit about gerontology and the social sociology of aging, right? So and then that's why I'm interested, all levels all phases of life. Yeah. So I would love to connect on that. So yeah, and just keeping mindful of time, I'm going to be, I guess, wrapping up today's talk. And thank you so much for sharing your projects. Can you give us the title of your projects again?
There are two sitcoms, two
Right.
episodic
Yes.
series, 50 something and Above Ground.
About growth. Okay. So anybody's interested as a writer or just talking and connecting with Tracy here. So I'm going to share that email contact with everybody. So
Perfect.
thank,
Thank you.
thank you so much, Tracy, for sharing your time today and sharing with the globe your journey and experience as a filmmaker and your beautiful projects and your podcasts coming soon. So yeah, so it's all happening, and so I really appreciate you. So goodbye to everybody, and thank you for everybody's time for joining us
I
today.
just want to thank you so much, and thank you for what you're doing with your Untold Stories. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Have a
Okay.
great rest of your day.
Yeah,
Take
you too.
care.
Take care. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you for joining.